Hello everyone, I must admit I'm a bit of an imposter. I'm not here to talk about infectious disease, I'm talking about non-infectious disease, so please don't kick me out. I want to talk to you a bit about some of the research that I've been up to in COPD. So for anyone who doesn't know, COPD, it's chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. It's the most common respiratory disease and is the third leading cause of death globally. There's 1.2 million people in the UK who have COPD, and people who have COPD, the symptoms include breathlessness, wheezing, coughing, excessive sputum production, like saliva, and they experience bouts of exacerbations. These are periods of significant worsening of respiratory symptoms, and they can be quite severe. So there's often a high mortality rate, has a serious impact on health-related quality of life, and there are significant health-related costs as well. But we do know early intervention in the course of exacerbations can potentially diminish the severity of the event and also potentially improve health-related quality of life. So for the last 4 years, I've been collaborating with the company Myam Health on the app MyCOPD. It's a digital therapeutic currently prescribed to patients in the NHS. There's over 30,000 users. And their key aim is to try and embed an AI-enabled exacerbation prediction tool within the MyCOPD app. So I'm just going to tell you a bit about how that's been going. So the initial stages of the project were obviously transforming the largest available real-world data set for patient-entered data in COPD into a usable format to apply data analytics and machine learning. And part of that was generating features from this data that could be predictive of exacerbations. And actually, we found one of the most powerful features was the change in the COPD assessment test score. So the COPD assessment test score, or the CAT score, is a measure of how much COPD is affecting a patient's life. It's a clinically validated questionnaire, and from this visualization here in A, about 4 days prior to an exacerbation on day 0, there is a change in CAT score from a stable baseline of 2 points, and that's the mean clinically important difference for the COPD assessment test score, meaning that's indicative of an exacerbation. So we realised we're looking at predicting exacerbations in about a 4-day window, 1 to 4 days before the event. And we've applied various machine learning algorithms, ensemble classifiers, and we found within this patient-entered data, which includes medication usage, CAT scores, symptom scores, how much you're using the app, there is predictive capacity just for how people are using it to manage their day-to-day lives. MyCOPD is mainly used for medication tracking, weather tracking, pulmonary rehabilitation, just self-management. So this kind of modelling and this kind of approach is almost burdenless for the patients. If an AI could be integrated in, it would take very little away from their lives, just how they're using the app normally. After developing some models, we decided it was time to start facing the patients, and we've begun the space studies, sensing predictions and alerts in COPD exacerbations. So in Space Study 1, we met with some of the MyCOPD users and asked them about AI acceptability. How could this AI be introduced into their use of the app? And there was actually quite a lot of keenness for the integration of this tool, but they felt currently the accuracy was not really usable in their day-to-day lives, and they said there really needs to be an improvement in the current accuracy of the models. And to do that, we realized we need to incorporate some additional sensing. So we conducted our first feasibility study with some MyCOPD patient users and gave them various sensors and conducted interviews to see their perceptions. And we learned a lot from that, which is leading on to the project that we're hoping to initiate soon with about 100 MyCOPD patient users, and we're going to be using 2 key sensors. We found that the Fitbit Inspire 3 is very low burden for patients. In fact, they are happy to use the sensor. And it provides overnight heart rate, respiratory rate, and oxygen saturations, which are known to be quite predictive of COPD exacerbations. Also, there's been a recent spin-out company from Cambridge called Tidal Sense, and their new device, N-Tidal Capnometer, which measures CO2 waveforms in exhaled breath. And at the moment, they've said that the CO2 waveforms are pretty good at diagnosing COPD, but there is current lack of evidence whether they can predict exacerbations. However, we're quite hopeful that it could be a very powerful predictor. So incorporating these physiological variables, CO2 waveforms in exhaled breath, and also patient-entered data from the MyCOPD app, we're hopefully going to be generating a very powerful prediction model for exacerbations. And within this study, we're also going to be embedding some patient-facing work, looking at what should an exacerbation warning look like, what kind of information do patients want when they have an exacerbation warning, and also, again, trying to understand the acceptability of AI to patients. How can we translate this information so that the technology is adopted correctly, willingly, and doesn't cause unnecessary concern? But I would very much love to hear anyone's insights about our project or discuss this with people later. Thank you very much.